opportunities in the midst of chaos and challenge. And I find that part of being able to do that is to sit back and go, I'm just going to believe this is going to work out in my favor somehow. So the trick that I'll give myself is I am just going to flash forward a year and I'm going to tell myself that I'm in the best possible position a year from now. If that is true, without a doubt, how would I want to tackle this challenge that I'm faced with right now? And what I'm doing is I'm removing off the table that I'm in danger. Look, I survive. A year later, I'm thrilled and I'm happy. So how would I want to tackle this? And I started doing that because there was a point where I had shown up in a coffee shop years ago, and I walked in to get a coffee and it felt very familiar to me. And it had been a long time since I was in that area. And I realized, like, oh, this is the coffee shop I was in. I came for an interview. I'd just been laid off. It was in my 20s. I did not have rent for the next month. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I applied to every job under the sun. Like, I didn't care if they were looking for elephant trainers. I was like, I once hugged an elephant. Like, I'm in, like, get me in. But this was a job, interesting enough, for executive coaching. And I hadn't done executive coaching as a formal kind of job yet. I'd been in, managed teams, and I'd been in charge of some learning, but not executive coaching. But I applied, and the gentleman was willing to meet with me. And I remember sitting with him, and he was like, I think he kind of, I was in my early 20s, and he was, I think, in his mid 50s. When you're in your mid 20s, you think everybody's in their mid 50s. So who knows? He could have been 30. He was sitting down. It just was really lovely, and having this interview with me. And he says, well, have you ever done executive coaching before? And I was, sure, I tell executives what to do all the time. Never afraid of an opinion. And, so he had just this kind of smile and was lovely and just kind of gave me advice. If this is really what you want to do, here's the experiences to collect and that type of thing. But I remember leaving that coffee shop, just all I could see was I did not get the job. And all I was obsessed with is, how am I going to pay my rent the next month, which is a fair thing to be worried about, but in that pure survivor mode. Now, here I am years later in this coffee shop. I'd been executive coach for several years, even forgot that conversation ever happened. And I thought, oh, well, now that I'm in the position that I can pay, I was in a position, that I pay my rent, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this person who's in her 20s and scared out of her mind. What would I want to tell her? And, sure, it's easy to sit there and go, everything's going to be fine. Like, just enjoy the ride. Everything's going to be fine. You figure it out. But it's easier to do that in hindsight than to do in the moment. But I realized, to really tap into your thriving mode, you've got to be able to do that.